Stewarding the Commons, our oceans and polar regions. And the moderator is Cristina Mittermeier, founder of SeaLegacy, NatGeo Explorer, who we just heard. And so we're going to call forth Cristina, as well as Kevin Chang, Executive Director of KUA, Cormac Cullinan, the founder of EnAct, Director, Cullinan and Associates, co-founder of Antarctica Alliance, as well as Maidi Andersson, Sámi reindeer herder and board member, and Sámi Multinational Reindeer Herding Association, as well as Hinano Teavai-Murphy, cultural director for Tetiaroa Society. So we have a panel that we're going to call forth and welcome them to the stage as well. As our panelists are coming to the stage, look to the person next to you and say, my goodness, you're resilient, you're precious, you're beautiful, you're handsome, and I'm happy to be here with you. All right, yeah, that's how you give out that good energy and wake each other up a little bit. As say, if they look tired, say, you look tired, you need a little bit of water. And then go get them some water and come right back. All right, let's give a warm welcome to our panelists, ladies and gentlemen, as we get ready for the Stewarding the Commons, our oceans and polar regions.
Thank you so much. So it is an incredible honor to share a panel with 4 experts on different aspects of climate and the ocean. I am going to do very brief introductions because we're running a little late and we want to have the most time with this incredible group of experts. Kevin Chang from Hawaii. He leads an organization called KUA, and he's going to tell us more about his work with Hawaiian communities. Cormac Cullinan, he's from South Africa, and he is one of the pioneers of rights for nature, but most recently his work is centered on Antarctica, and he's going to tell us why the Southern Ocean is so important. Maidi Andersson, she is a traditional Sámi herder from Sweden and Norway, and circumstances of life have made her an elder before her time, but we're very lucky to have you here, Maidi. And my dear friend, Hinano Murphy, from the beautiful island nation of French Polynesia, Tahiti. She is the descendant of great navigators, and she is the cultural leader for the Tetiaroa Society. What I want to do, Hinano, if you don't mind, to stand up. Did Dr. Earl make it back to the auditorium? Sylvia, are you out there? She's not there, but I would like for all of us to stand up. Hinano, would you lead us in chant? And if I could ask you to please stand up as well.
The people of this land who allow me to step on this sacred place. Humbly allow me to bring the spirit of my ancestors from the middle of the Pacific Ocean and call for their wisdom to meet with us today, to be shared. This is our chant. O te miti neira te mare mo aroa, e te hana hana o te ine ya, vahi hahano, vahi ra'a, va'atu pura'a, manava hira hira e. The ocean is a sacred place. Our ocean is a sacred place. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hinano. And I would just like to offer one more round of applause for Dr. Sylvia Earle. She is our ocean matriarch. She is our inspiration. She is our role model. She's been doing this her whole life. and we're all looking up at Sylvia. So what I want to do this afternoon is just learn a little bit more about the different parts of the ocean and the planet that you represent. And I'm going to start with you, Hinano, because you come from one of the largest nations on the planet, the Pacific Peoples Nation. And most of us are terrified of the ocean, but your ancestors, your people, they used to be the greatest navigators on the planet. And those traditions are so important for so many reasons. But I also would love for you to touch a little bit on your work that you do with Tetiaroa Society. Tell us a little bit about this tiny atoll in the middle of the ocean and why it's so important. And later, after we have a chance to talk to everybody, I want to talk to you about deep sea mining. But
Thank you, Cristina. My name is Teavai-Murphy. I work on Tetiaroa as a cultural leader for Tetiaroa Society, an NGO that works so hard to protect our little tiny atoll. An atoll for us is just small land with a ring of reef. And I always say, and my grandfathers, we always say, the atoll is the intermediate space between being on a canoe and then landing on very small area, sand, coral. Not even 1 meter above the ocean. So ocean is our world. Ocean is our home. Ocean means a lot to us because it's a cradle of our existence. It is the place where our island emerged from the ocean. So we deal with the ocean every day. We learn how to get lessons. We learn all the lessons that the ocean gave us. We hear. Our elder will say, when we ask them, Papa, can you give us the name of the waves, different waves that to teach us about? And he will say, why do you want to learn about the names? Learn about the noise that the waves do when they break on the point, that place over there. Because that is very important for you. Learn how to read nature around. Learn how to look at all these plants blooming and connect them to the creature, to the deep. Connect them to the ocean. Because what you can see on land reflects the thing that you cannot see in deep ocean. So this is traditional knowledge that we accumulate. And part of my job is to pass it down to our children. So in Tetiaroa, we do outreach program with Tetiaroa Society. We do community program. We bring the elders to teach us, to make us understand why is the ocean so important to our life, and how can we deal with the ocean? Well, with many hours sitting down with elders, there is one thing I learned. There are things that we can see, and there are things that we cannot see. And the unseen is part of what you can see. So these lessons, we have the deep ocean that we can't see, but we know it's a sacred place because it's a place of creation. It is the place where our genealogy are tied to the deep. And there is an immense thing that we have to learn is that driving force of life. Tupu, growing from the bottom of the ocean, like a genealogy that we tie to the deep ocean. And we learn how to deal with big creatures, all the way to the tiny picture, tiny, tiny little creatures. And those are part of our family. They are part of our family. So in Tetiaroa, we do restoration program. We do outreach program. We do a lot of research program over there. But we bring the community. We work together, community and researchers, trying to understand this world and trying to bring our wisdom and the way we should lead when we encounter, when we go into the ocean, when we enter the ocean. And we finally realized that wasn't enough to take care of Tetiaroa, to act locally. With the BCI that we created a few years ago, we wanted to elevate our wisdom, to bring it to everyone, to understand why we should go global. So we brought everybody to the center, to the most sacred place of French Polynesia, the center of the Pacific, where our octopus, sacred octopus, with his 8 tentacles, show us the pathway to every island in the Pacific. Show us the pathway, but also show us how we can deal with our family. Bring it back to the center. Work together. Share this breath of life. Share the wisdom. And decide on the future of our ocean. So then, this leads us to the voice of the ocean and think about all the other islands, all the other nations, all the small islands, because we are an ocean of islands. This is big. So we want to bring everyone, like our ancestors did before. Bring that wisdom and call for them. Bring the voice, their voice, your voice, our voice together. Bring it to the world to show them how important, and it is a crucial moment. It's today we have to act together. So we wanted to bring the voice of the indigenous people, the one who knows the ocean, the one who deal with the ocean every day, the one that are the caretaker, because that's our responsibility, to be the custodian of this big, big, vast body of water that we call home. And with that, we end up to the ISA. I will talk about it
We'll
later.
talk about it more. Is this working? I'll share with you. There's 2 things about Hinano that are amazing. One, and you will not be surprised, is that Disney came to Hinano for guidance on how to, talk about Moana, the people of the Pacifics, and they ended up creating the grandmother in your likeness, did they not? And you can see why. The other thing is Tetiaroa, as a little tiny experiment, and Frank Murphy, who's Hinano's husband, scientists, they have been working together to show that what happens in Tetiaroa matters because it's a small microcosm of what's happening in the world. And as Tetiaroa goes, so does the ocean, and climate is affecting all of it. So I want to go to you now, Cormac, and you are South African scientist, one of the pioneers of the rights of nature, which has been such a powerful movement. But now you're turning your focus to Antarctica, the Southern Ocean, climate. Tell us about it. Tell us why.
Thank you. I'm honored that you think I'm a scientist. I'm afraid I'm a humble lawyer.
Oh, a lawyer. Let me call you scientist.
Fair enough. So I've been fascinated by what I've heard here today. I've heard many speakers say we have to look at things differently. We have to see with the heart and feel with the heart and not just the mind. I've heard speaker after speaker speak about the urgency of taking action and how important it is that we learn from the indigenous wisdom that is present in this room. And I feel particularly honored to be in this sacred part of the world with so many warriors in this room. And so I've been involved for more than 20 years with the Rights of Nature movement and building that movement, building a global alliance for the rights of nature. And about 2.5 years ago, somebody said to me, could you apply this to Antarctica? And I sort of thought, yes, of course. And then I started thinking about it. And I realized that Antarctica presents an extraordinary opportunity at this time. And by Antarctica, I mean not just the continent, which is huge. The continent, I hadn't realized, is bigger than the United States and Mexico combined. But the real ecosystem is that which includes the Southern Ocean. So when I say Antarctica, I'm meaning Antarctica and the Southern Ocean, because that's where so much of the life is. And if you see Antarctica in that way, it's more than 10% of the surface of this planet. It is absolutely enormous. But more importantly, it's absolutely crucial to the planet because Antarctica drives the currents that circulate throughout the globe. It also absorbs more than 40% of the CO2 from the atmosphere and somewhere between 60 and 90% of the heat which the cold waters take into the deep waters. So it's absolutely critical for climate stability. And strangely enough, it's also unique in another way, and that's the governance system, because the process of colonization was never completed in Antarctica. People came down there and they stuck in their flags, and I mean, you know, it's quite extraordinary to think the delusion that by sticking a flag, you can own and govern a vast, wild, magnificent place like Antarctica. But leaving that delusion aside, there is now a small group of countries that manage that see themselves as governing Antarctica under the Antarctic Treaty System. Now, that treaty system was a great achievement. It was put in place in the height of the Cold War, and it reserved Antarctica for science and peace. But right now, it's stuck. It cannot save Antarctica. And there are a number of reasons for it. One is that it only applies to the treaty area, which is defined, but the key threats to Antarctica are originating outside of the area, climate change for one. Secondly, decision-making is by consensus. And right now, for example, both Russia and Ukraine are members, and also you have states in there that seem intent upon working out how much oil and gas lies beneath Antarctica, because even though mining is currently banned, presumably they intend to change that sometime in the future. So just at the time when Antarctica is melting, and it's absolutely essential to every one of us that we protect that life and we stop the gross predation that humans are causing within that ecosystem, the systems that we put in place don't work. So how do we address that? We have to see Antarctica differently. We have to see it through the eyes of, as indigenous people have explained, Antarctica is not just a place, it's an extraordinary community of life. It is an amazing community of beings, and they have the right to be and the right to exist, and our duty is to protect that. So what we're proposing, and this is really where it comes to the action, is I'm here to persuade as many organizations as possible in this room and as many individuals as possible to become founder members of an Antarctic Alliance, and we've got a draft declaration to recognize Antarctica as independent with effectively as powerful as a state, so it can be represented and it's the voice of nature, and Antarctica can be heard in climate change negotiations and courts and around the world. Thank you.
So who's in? Who's going to be founding member of this new movement? Mission Blue, Dr. Earl, yes? All right, yes, she says yes. So from Antarctica, which is so critically important and so fragile, we're going to go to the other side of the planet, to the Arctic. And I follow Maidi Andersson on Instagram, because she's very cool. But she lives in the Arctic. And she was saying to me, I don't really know very much about the ocean, but I think you know that what happens in the ocean has a tremendous impact on your way of life, on your people's way of life. She is, you're so cool. Why don't you tell them what you do, Maidi? Because I am still spellbounded.
Yeah, so I'm a reindeer herder in the Swedish part of Sámi. And we move from the mountains in the west to the coast in the east every year, twice a year. In spring we go to the mountains. We'll be in the mountains all summer until September, October, November sometimes. Then we move them down to the coast in the east. And I was thinking about that, what the ocean had, what connection it had, and of course, it's the vegetation is so different around the coast compared to further in the country. That's why we moved them to the coast. The wind from the ocean takes away some of the snow. So, yeah, for context, the reindeer eat lichen that grows on the ground. And due to the climate change, I have never experienced a normal winter in my lifetime. Yeah, maybe in my lifetime, but not for as long as I've been aware of my existence. My father used to tell me that when he became like 18, started to work with reindeers full time. It was in the 80s. The winter was the chill time of the year. He had time to go on vacations with his friends to Thailand. He was to Thailand once for 2 weeks. I could never, because it's the most hectic time of the year for us. The snow, when the snow hits the ground in November, sometimes in September nowadays. But in the 80s, early 90s maybe, the snow hit the ground in November, December, and the winter was cold. The snow would never, it didn't get too dense, it didn't get too wet, and then when it got cold, it didn't become ice like it does nowadays. I had like 10 days in January this year. It was raining. And the snow became so wet, and it became so wet on the ground, and then it became like 30 degrees Celsius. Yeah. So it became, everything was ice, and of course the reindeer they can't reach the food on the ground. So then we have to start with the artificial food, which has a lot of various consequences on there, because it's not natural to them. They get sick sometimes, and we don't know what's wrong, because people haven't, no veterinarians understand the reindeer. We barely do sometimes, so I...
And your way of life is very hard, right? I mean, these animals are wild animals that are herded in large numbers.
Yeah, we don't have fences. We collect them a couple of times a year to separate them or mark the calves and slaughter the bucks, but they live out in the nature, in the wilderness, and we have our ways to know where they are, or we hope we do, at least. Sometimes we don't. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a very difficult thing to talk to people about the impact that the ocean has on their lives when they live in the middle of the desert or up in the mountains, and they think they're completely separate. And we have to keep reminding people that the ocean touches all of us. And I'm going to go now to the Pacific, the other part of the Pacific, Hawaii, where Kevin works. And I would love to hear a little bit about your work with KUA and communities in Hawaii. And I'm going to come back to you later to talk about Lahaina and what happened there. And you know, the work that you're doing is working to prevent that from happening again. But Kevin, tell us about it.
I want to try something. I'm going to say ki ilili, and I want all of you to say ku oloku. Can you say that? Try. Ki ilili.
Ku oloku.
Ki ilili.
Ku oloku.
Okay, I'm going to do a little oli for you, and I'm going to close with that. E ala e elupu. Ke alali uhoa kalani, ki hei aku I ka halawai e. Hu! Kau mai ka auamo, ali iku makua, ma ka apuni ka me ke pohe pohe, ka eo ana ka eo la. Koko velo velo pa hono ia, ua pa e, ua pa la. Ave ave pu alu, e alu pu. Ki ilili. Not bad.
Give us another chance later.
Ki ilili.
Kuoloku.
What I just did for you is an oli or a chant written by a network of over 40 rural Native Hawaiian communities concerned about the ocean and the shorelines and being able to manage their resources in the ways they once did. You may not know, but in 1893, the United States overthrew the government of Hawaii, which at that time was a multi-ethnic democracy that managed lands from a more local point of view. That is, that there was more power on the ground for the people who had the practical knowledge, not just the spiritual knowledge. They had the practical knowledge and relationship with the environment they lived in. In fact, they didn't talk about land separately from the ocean. They said aina is that which feeds, that the land and the ocean were the same. And when the land was poisoned, so was the ocean. And the people who founded my work at an organization called Kua Aina Ulu Awamo, which means grassroots growing through shared responsibility, wanted to see a change back to power to the people. I think it is important that we speak out on the bigger issues today, signing on to large kind of calls for action in the world. But you can also take some control of your place, like the Lakotas over here, like the Oseti Sakuin. They are working with each other, finding partners to take care of their place in the way that is appropriate to take care of their place. At the overthrow of Hawaii in 1893, the government of the United States placed a layer of governance over the way we managed and related to our environment. This created a way of governing and taking care of our resources that was centralized. Centralize the resources to do that, centralize the decisions about how somebody should take care of their place. This led to widespread neglect because the interest was more in taking from the place than in taking care of it. And our communities began to understand this over time through measures to suppress their culture, suppress their relationship with the environment. And they've moved since the 70s. They've created a movement to change the way we govern our environment to one that is more for a community that is the most isolated in the world, 2,500 miles from anywhere in the world. This community once fed itself and fed a population close to the island population we have today. So I'm here to just say, sign these large efforts, understand them, but also look at your place. Because I think when we're talking about this WILD12 conference and you're inviting indigenous people and local communities to be part of this effort, then you need to look at your place, understand how the people of your place took care and lived within that place. Mahalo.
So true. Oh my God, give him a hand. I want to take a moment to say that advocacy works, but only if all of us participate. And it's so easy to get tired and get fatigued and doubt that these things work, but they do work. Just last week, the government of California unanimously decided to ban octopus farming, because what an awful idea. But it takes the signatures, the advocacy, Dr. Earl standing up and talking about this, and all of us lending our voices. So I'm going to ask two people to stand up, Kate Bergen, who works with me at SeaLegacy, and young Jamie Gonsalves, who works with us as well. Where are you, Jamie? They are carrying the physical QR codes for the petition that Cormac mentioned, for the petition that the elders of the Pacific are signing to stop deep sea mining, and for our declaration to ratify the High Seas Treaty. I expect all of you to sign these for us, please, to help us. So please find them, and they're going to be out there at the end. And Kate also wanted me to tell you that we are giving away a free book called The Last Ice. So find little cards out there for it. So let me ask you, Hinano, why is it such a big deal if deep sea mining happens? I mean, why do the people of the Pacific care about this?
Well, first, because it's our home. And we are not at the table of negotiation. We are not at the table of policymakers. And I think that's one of the first rules. Before talking about mining our ocean, it's like mining the womb of our mother. This is how it looks. It's the place of creation, and we are genealogically dependent on that, to tie to the deep ocean. So all sorts of reasons can come, all sorts of reasons can occur to say we need to mine for the world to keep on going for sustainable. But I think Dr. Earl, our deepest, really explained to all of us, this is not. For us, when we think about the ocean, it is our relative. And we think at it as it is a breath of life. Mining means scraping everything at the bottom of the ocean. And then leave us with all the debris, everything that's make us sick and affect all the biodiversity that we depend on. So it is crucial that our community, all the Pacific Islanders, should sit at the table of policymakers. The second is that we have to stop thinking that the ocean is the continent of everything coming from land, everything that we produce. We are living in that ocean. We are living with the ocean, within the ocean. And it is our life. So that's why it's a call from everyone. But I want also to tell you, when we look at the ocean, it's like looking, our vision of the ocean is not only on the surface. We are our ocean starts from the shore, going all the way to the other shore, but also from the deep, going all the way to the sky. This is how we are tied to this world. Land is very tiny, and we have to care for this little land that we have. We have to look after that, but also for this vast body of ocean. And going to the deep, it's like for us, healing also everything that reflects in the ocean. So that's why we believe our word for ocean is moana, but it's also tai. And our word for water is vai. But vai is also exist. It means life. It means it's your existence. So vai is everywhere. In the myth of our creation, we have ocean at the bottom, but we have also our ocean in the sky, where we put our biggest shark, Ire, in the sky, where all stars and constellation are our pillar of the dome of the sky, where in there is our water that we call the Vaiura Tane. It's practically the galaxy. So our vision of the ocean is not only from shore to shore, it's all three-dimensional. And yet we have to deal with our ancestors. We have to look at it on a very humble way of how we use the ocean, how we treat the ocean, because it's our relative. So this set of mind should change. We have to change our set of mind. We have to think, when we think about blue economy, we have to think of how are we still going to put money to monetize everything around us? Or are we thinking first about the ocean as a relative? Because without the ocean, there is no us. There is no economy. So that's why deep sea mining for us, it's a big, big concern.
I'll share with you again. Hinano and Frank travel routinely to the regular meetings of the International Seabed Authority, and they do that with meager funding, always struggling to get there to represent these voices in a group of, they're mostly white men, they're very corporate, they're making all these decisions about the deep sea as if they owned it, and they need to be doing this with a council of indigenous values and indigenous spirituality. So thank you for that, Hinano. If we have time, I want to come back and ask you about Rahui, but let me go back to Antarctica one more time, because we've been trying to work with Antarctica for a long time, and I'd like for you to explain to us, CAMELAR, the Commission on the Conservation of the Marine Living Resources of Antarctica, which is funded by the industrial fishing nations. It feels to me like it's the fox watching the hens, and it doesn't work. They will never agree to protect the ocean that they exploit.
Exactly, and you've seen it recently. Every time the scientists put the science on the table, say we need a marine protected area here, the answer is no. And that's happened time and time and time again. And that's why we need to go and really accept the fact that we are visitors to that. Humans are not indigenous to Antarctica. The fact, now we've introduced ourselves as a major predator in this ecosystem. I think there's a real question whether we should have any right to predate in that ecosystem at all. And so this is why we think we can't go on tweaking the existing system. We have to see things completely differently. And I hope that this will become one of the liberated areas of the Earth, when humans will hear the voice of Antarctica, and the decision making will be based on what's in the best interests of Antarctica, not in the best interests of the club of people or the CAMELAR fishers. But just to end off, those of you who are interested in talking about this further, on the table outside there's a card which we're going to be having a workshop on Thursday morning. It'll give you the details, and we're going to be talking about wilderness values and revolution. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I have been to Antarctica a couple of times, and I have seen those massive ships that are, fishing, if that's what we can call it, for krill. What they do is they have something like a ginormous straw that they lower into the ocean, and then they just suction out the krill. And I've asked people that work in South Georgia, do we even know how much krill is? And they don't know. Of course, they don't know. And the theme that keeps coming to my mind is we don't know anything. As much as we know today, we know nothing about how our spaceship works. We really should be so much more careful, and we should be really leaning on the traditions and the teachings of elders, the indigenous people that are the last people on this planet that are still connected to the operating system of planet Earth. So with that, I'm not going to ask you to sing, because I know you hate it. But I want you to tell me, why this is important. You could choose to live in Copenhagen or somewhere else and be a modern girl and go to Taylor Swift concerts. But yeah, here you are, a young person choosing to uphold the traditions of your people. Why?
I don't think I have ever thought that thought in my entire life.
Good.
Why I chose this. That's actually because anything else has never been an alternative for me. I don't know anything else. I don't want to know anything else, of course. And when I talk to my elders back home, and they tell me all of these great stories, and I drink coffee with them in the morning sometimes, and they tell me everything about how it was in the 60s, and they were still skiing and everything was so good, and I know that of course, I'm modernized as everything else. I jump into my car, get to my snowmobile, and but I get to go out to the forest and I get to meet my reindeer every day. And I have never, not once, questioned my choice of lifestyle. Even though it's hard, and it's very hard, and it's very cold in the winter. It's so cold sometimes, and sometimes it's raining, and sometimes it's a lot of hard work with all of this artificial food, and it's very expensive, and it's very mentally draining sometimes. But I have never, not once, asked myself why I chose this. No, not once.
That's amazing, Maidi. And you told me the story of your father's very young passing. He left you when you were you were just a kid, and you are from, he left your mother and your sister and yourself, and you have taken on the role of, family, household.
Yeah, I would think it would be such a waste, because I know he often he had to choose between being with us or being with his reindeer. I know it tore him into pieces sometimes when he had to leave Christmas morning to go to the reindeer and leave us kids at home. But I know now, when I'm a grown-up, I know he did it for us. He did it so I could have the opportunity to work with this when I grew up. Unfortunately, I had to grow up much earlier than I wished to. But I remember as a kid I could be so sad sometimes, and he tried to tell me, I do this for you, and I was like, no, you're not doing it for me. You're leaving me back home, and I was like a daddy's girl crying, blah blah blah, and but now since he passed, I know that even though I don't have kids, but I know I do this for someone to be able to give it to someone.
Well, can we give this young woman a hand? Thank you, Maidi. Woohoo! I think we're running out of time, so I just want to turn it to Kevin one last time for you to share with us whatever else you want. I'd love to hear more about Lahaina. That was such a tragic thing that happened in Hawaii. And then, if you don't mind taking us out, he's brought his ukulele, and he's going to sing a song for us. So, Kevin, I'm going to turn it over to you. And before I do that, I want to thank all of you for coming this afternoon. Please remember to sign those petitions. And we're going to be out there, so talk to us. We want to tell you more about the ocean. Kevin.
I forgot to add that the chant I did basically is a calling of the people to come forward and to restore their sense of place and community. And so at the end, what I did was I said, Kiilili, which is a call of a bird. And then you responded back that as a bird, as a community of people, you're ready. Lahaina used to be called a place called Lele, or Lahaina o Kamalu o Lele. Some called it the Venice of the Pacific. I don't know if everyone is familiar with the recent Lahaina fires where we lost 100 people, I think over 3,000 homes. That fire is in a place that used to be the Venice of the Pacific. That's because we have rerouted the way we use the water in that area. Water goes to millionaire estates. We've developed the area in ways that have instead of having native species, we have brush. And on this day, where we had winds that we have never seen before, because of our past, it caught up with our own community. And so actually, a lot of the leaders in the networks that my organization works for showed up before the government showed up. They brought food, they made shelter, they took care of each other, and they talked about a new vision for their place. So there's a new vision growing for Lahaina that's coming from the people. Like the rest of the Hawaii, I think that this is what is happening at the grassroots. Yeah.
Thank you again. What I've come to learn and understand from the last couple of days that I've been spending in the company of elders and traditional healers and indigenous people from all over the world is that what we need is a network. It's like a spiritual sphere around the planet to guide us with new values. And I don't know if that's possible, but I'm so happy we're trying. And it's such an honor to try with all of you. So, Kevin, take us out, and thank you to all of you.
So the song I'm going to close with is called Hawaii 78. When I talked about the community movement, it began in the 70s. And the chorus of this song is Ua mau ke ea o ka aina I ka pono. It's a phrase said by Kamehameha III in the 1800s when a non-representative of the British government overthrew the government of Hawaii. And it was sent, and word was sent back to a man by the name of Admiral Thomas, who from Britain came to Hawaii and restored governance to the people of Hawaii. And when that happened, the king said, Ua mau ke ea o ka aina I ka pono. The life of the land, or the governance of the land, shall be perpetuated in righteousness. So that's the chorus for this song. Ua mau ke ea o ka aina I ka pono hano no Hawaii. Just for a day our king and queen would visit all the islands and saw everything now. How would they feel about the changes of our land? Can you just imagine if they came back and saw traffic lights and railroad tracks now? How would they feel if they saw Hawaii today? Tears would come from each other's eyes as they would start to realize that our people are in great, great danger now. How would they feel? Would they smile, be content, or cry? Cry for the gods and cry for the people. Cry for the land that was taken away, and still yet you find Hawaii. Ua mau ke ea o ka aina I ka pono hano no Hawaii. Oh, the fighting that the king had done to unite the islands, now there's condominiums now. How would he feel if he saw Hawaii today? Oh, the giving that the queen had done, she gave her aloha to everyone now. How would she feel about this modern city life? How would they feel? Would they smile, be content, or cry? Cry for the gods and cry for the people. Cry for the land that was taken away, and still yet you find Hawaii. How would they feel? Would they smile, be content, or cry? Cry for the gods and cry for the people. Cry for the land that was taken away, and still yet you find Hawaii. Uamahu ke e au ka aina I ka pono ano Hawaii. Uamahu ke e au ka aina I ka pono. The life of the land shall be perpetuated in righteousness. Aloha.